This was Alicia, the main menu theme for Sandfall Interactive's Clair Obscur Expedition 33. When my ears were first graced by this glorious soundtrack, I knew, in my heart of hearts, that I was in for an incredible experience. A single piece of music had not caught my attention this much since or this. Or this. Something that all these incredible games have in common is their phenomenal soundtracks and how their main menu title screens are able to pull us in. And with these aforementioned experiences as examples, you can understand how I was easily pulled into Expedition 33 once I heard the opening notes of Alicia and then proceeded to listen to the rest of the track before even starting a new game. Greetings and salutations, everybody. GamingOtakuGeek here. And based on how I began this video, as well as the thumbnail for it, y'all can assume what I'm going to talk about here. Yup, that's right. I'm going to be talking about Expedition 33, the 2025 Game of the Year. A game that has captured the hearts and imaginations of millions of players worldwide. But in my case, I'm not going to regale y'all with Sandfall Interactive's massive success story, because you've probably heard it a million times over at this point. Rather, I'm going to talk about my own personal experience with the game, and how I was introduced to it, as well as go over my thoughts on the game as a whole. And then I'll go over the two endings that the game has. So, as you've probably seen by the thumbnail, if you are currently playing through the game, just be warned, spoilers abound for the ending of the game. But of course, if you are watching this video, you've probably already beaten the game or you don't care about spoilers. Be that as it may, I'm going to provide the courtesy of letting y'all know when the spoiler content is coming, so that way you can be able to avoid hearing about the endings of the game. So then, let's get this started. I got into this game thanks to two coworkers of mine that just so happened to be talking about it. One of them walked up to me and was like, "So hey, have you played Expedition 33? And I was like, "What's that? Is that like a first-person shooter or something?" And then he's like, "Oh no man, this is a turn-based RPG. You like those, right?" And immediately my interest was piqued. What I didn't realize is that he was putting my other coworker and I onto peak fiction absolute cinema. And I remembered that this was, I believe, around early May. I remember getting off work, and I was so intrigued about this game that I decided to go to Target to try and get it, but it was nowhere to be found. Then I tried going to another Target, the same thing. And then I went to a Walmart, no dice. I looked up on my phone and it turns out that the game had sold so well that physical copies were basically out at the moment. And though I love to get physical copies of my games, I did what I seldomly tend to do, and I actually downloaded it through PlayStation Network since I couldn't find a physical copy. And I remember that before even booting up the game, I was just there on the home screen listening to Alicia, and I was like, I took my phone out, I recorded that, and I sent the clip to my girlfriend, and I was like, I'm about to play some Peak. I'm about to play something truly special just based off of this track alone. And this was before I even booted the game. And from there, the rest was history. But I could not have been prepared for what awaited me. Thankfully, I wasn't spoiled on any story details, so I was able to go into this game completely and fully blind. And let me just say, it really just blew my mind. It really took me for a ride. And though I already got this game digitally, I do eventually want to purchase a physical copy because I want to support Sandfall, because they deserve it. And when it comes to the game itself, like I said, I'm not really going to say too much that hasn't already been said because this game has been glazed to death, but I am just going to reiterate in just a small, tiny way. It is a love letter to JRPGs and just role-playing games as a whole. It combines the best elements of this genre to truly deliver a magnificent, transcendent experience that you just have to play yourself to really, truly appreciate. With an amazing overworld filled with secrets to the brim, to characters that are written so magnificently well, to a story that really touches on the heartstrings about grief and loss, to the gameplay that keeps you engaged and makes you strive to be the best, to the soundtrack that just absolutely complements everything this game has to offer, Expedition 33 is truly the total package. And when I say total package, I do mean total package. In this day and age, where most games release unfinished, Expedition 33 is a complete game from start to finish at only $50, which is a steal in this economy. Plus, free DLC that recently came out after the game won Game of the Year at the Game Awards. Now, if that isn't incredible, I don't know what is. This is one of those games where, aside from the main story, even the side quests and optional dialogue are fun, and you want to do everything because it just complements the story as a whole. Overall, truly one of the most incredible video game experiences that I have played in recent memory, and this is from someone who is a huge Kingdom Hearts fan. But with my brief thoughts on the overall game out of the way, now I'm going to delve into spoiler territory, so this is your first warning. This is your second warning. Okay? You're still here? You're sure that you want to go through with this? Either you've played the game or you don't care about spoilers. But if you are treading through this, don't be mad at me because I gave you a fair warning. Alright, spoiler warning in 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's talk about it. Expedition 33 is about grief and how we as human beings process it. After playing 100 hours of this game and reaching the finale, and then getting to the very final battle, I was faced with a choice. The tension began to rise because two of the main characters whom I had grown attached to over the course of my 100-hour playthrough were now facing each other at odds. On the one hand, we have Maëlle, who had lived her entire life in Lumiere, only to find out that her memories there were false and that she was actually Alicia, and that it turns out that the world she was in was a fabrication of the canvas. Being part of the painter family known as the Descendres, I hope that I pronounced that right. Having lost her brother Verso in the real world, she hesitates to leave the canvas, not only because she is able to be with the last fragment of his brother's soul, but also because of all the friends that she has made within the canvas, and even though they are fabrications, they are real to her. Despite the grief that her family is facing outside, she would much rather stay on the inside, where she can be able to stave off the grief for as long as she possibly can. And in that aspect, of course we can empathize with her, because anyone losing a loved one at such a young age, it is very difficult to be able to process these feelings, because at the age of 16, you are not at a mature enough level to grasp the concept of losing someone and trying to move forward. There are some that manage to do it, but there are very few. So she honestly can't be blamed for feeling the way she does, because I see a lot of discourse online about how horrible people think that Alicia, for the decision that she makes in staying within the canvas. But honestly, I can empathize with her because of her situation and her place in time and all of this, and not wanting to let go. And on the other hand, we have Verso, who is a fabricated, painted copy of the real Verso that lives within the canvas. With having to live this life, being forced into it, watching his painted family suffer, and then watching the real life version of the Dissandra suffer as well, it's too much. And yes, while at first, prior to joining Expedition 33, he was fighting for his right to exist as well as all his previous friends from previous expeditions, as time went on, he realized that this canvas was not the answer and that this was a reality that needed to be erased. And the heartbreak of seeing Alicia delve deeper and deeper into this depression, into coping with grief to the point of addiction, he couldn't let this continue going on. And so, his endgame is to basically end the canvas, despite what it means for the friends that he's made along the way, and despite what it means for Alicia herself. If it means saving her, he will do whatever it takes. I was already beside myself with emotion when reaching this point of the game, because I had spent so much time growing with these characters, getting attached to them, and seeing their relationships develop, only for it to end like this, and then the game just absolutely destroys me and gives me an emotional gut punch, because then it says, decide the fate of the canvas, who will you fight as? I remember that I put the controller down for at least a good 5 to 10 minutes, and I was just blankly staring at the screen, just looking at this final distorted, twisted void that is the heart of the canvas. I'm over here like, no, for the love of God, why do you have to put the choice in my hands? I'm over here distressing, I'm weighing my options, I'm thinking on both sides, I am thinking on both of these characters, I am thinking of the outcome, I am thinking of what is the best ending. And I'm over here feeling so conflicted because these characters mean so much. And I honestly found myself not knowing what to do. I genuinely felt helpless, because I had that horrible feeling that no matter what I chose, it was going to be depressing as hell. Funnily enough, though, it wasn't the relationship between the two of them that influenced my decision. My decision was actually influenced by a personal tragedy. On February 13th of 2024, I lost my father. He was a pivotal person in my life, and he is someone that I was very close to. And naturally, when I lost him, a part of me died with him. He was by no means a perfect man. He was flawed, but he tried his damn best. And he was as incredible a father as I could have ever hoped to have. He gave me an incredible childhood, and he loved me very much. But for as much as we loved each other, there are many things that plagued him throughout his life, and he was a complex man in that regard. There was a lot that he went through in silence that he never shared with anyone, and probably struggles that he endured that I will never know about. And over the decades, that took a toll on him. Toward the end of his life, he was tired, and he just wanted to finally be able to rest. He wouldn't say it, but he felt it. A number of factors added on top of that, but I'm not going to mention that here. All in all, throughout his life, he suffered so much, especially towards the end, and he just wanted to be able to finally rest. And in that moment, I had an epiphany. Verso, in a way, mirrored my father. And with my own grief that I had had to process, that is how I came to the decision of going with Verso's ending. If I had the chance to bring my dad back, or at the very least have one more conversation with him, I would do anything. But that's not what he would have wanted me to do. He would have wanted me to push forward and live as honorably as humanly possible. To grieve, yes, but to not let that grief stop me from living my life. And to me, From that moment onward, the choice was clear, and I knew that Verso was the right choice for me and for what was in my heart. And then witnessing the aftermath of the choice, while it was sad, it was ultimately the happier ending, because Alicia could be able to healthily grieve with her family in the real world, as opposed to staving it off by her lonesome. To say that I was mind blown when my time with the game was done is a huge understatement. And so immediately upon finishing the game, I decided to look up Mael's ending on YouTube to see what would have happened had I chosen her instead of Verso. And it was just as sad as depressing, but whereas Verso's was more hopeful, Mael's definitely leaned a lot more into despair and into pretty grim territory. Because for Mael, the reality of the situation was, leaving the canvas would mean leaving Verso for good. It also meant she'd have to leave behind the friends who had become her found family. On the outside world, she had lost her voice, her face had been burnt, she had lost an eye, she was miserable, and having lost her brother, she had no reason to be in the real world. But here, in the canvas, she could live the life that she wants. She could be able to be who she truly wants to be. And for someone as young as her, the decision that she made was based on clouded judgment. The decision of enclosing herself to her grief instead of facing it head on in the real world. She doesn't want to lose everything that she's obtained in this world. And if playing pretend means keeping everything that she has, she will not hesitate. She held tightly to her grief, therefore imprisoning Verso into an endless cycle. And yes, at the end of the day, she ended up getting what she wanted, but at the cost of her soul, at the cost of her essence being stripped away, at the cost of her becoming the canvas's next paintress. The absolute chills that I got when I saw her face all distorted towards the end, I was like, yeah, no, this is absolutely tragic, just so dark. And after watching that ending, it only reinforced the choice that I made in choosing Verso's ending. And I felt good having chosen that one. But at the same time, both outcomes were pretty grim and sad, though one was a slightly more hopeful one, while the other was a lot more depressing. At the end of the day, what Sandfall managed to construct with this narrative is a beautiful and poignant reflection of what it means to grieve. So many of us lose our loved ones, and we go through the process of grieving in our own way. The process is not an overnight one, and it can be resolved in a matter of months, it can take years, sometimes it can even take decades. Grief is a different journey for every single individual. It's one of those things in life that really puts things into perspective, and it's also one of those things that sometimes you really can't fully grasp it. Grief is one of those concepts where you don't really have a handbook in how to handle it, because everyone processes it in a different way. The key to grief is learning how to process it in a healthy way that does not hurt you or the ones that you love. And this can take any number of forms, from writing out how you feel, painting, listening to music, going on walks, talking with a trusted friend or family member, and the list goes on. The key here is to find a suitable outlet, a healthy outlet for you to process your grief and not internalize it and let it consume you. For poor Mael, it is so understandable that she would choose to internalize and to process her grief on her own and to stave off the pain of it. Because, in her mind, if she is able to have everything that she wants, and she is able to have all of the people that she loves beside her, and she doesn't have to lose anyone, of course she's going to hold on to that. She's going to hold on to it with dear life. And I feel like all of us have felt that way at some point. But then, you also have Verso's perspective, where you know how deeply the pain of loss can be. And in so doing, you don't want that grief to consume you or the ones that you love. And so you decide to take the pain head on, stand up, brush yourself off and keep pushing forward with your head held high, because that is what the people you love would want you to do for those that are no longer here, because we do what we can for those who come after. Going back to the game though, the fact that Sandfall decided to entrust the ending of the game in our hands and just make said ending so, oh my god, emotionally, frustratingly depressing that you just didn't know if you were making the right choice. And I think there's a certain beauty in that, because like many things in life, some things are beyond our control. And so in this particular instance, it can give off the feeling that there is no choice, merely the illusion of choice. Because no matter the outcome, there's always pain, there's always suffering, and there's always a feeling of emptiness. But at the same time, through that illusion, you're able to find the resolve to push yourself out of that illusion and push forward in the real world. Life can feel grim and it can feel overwhelming. And sometimes we really do feel that the choices that we make in this life don't matter because it's all an illusion. We only have our thoughts, our feelings, and sometimes we think to ourselves, is any of this worth it? Does any of this matter? For Mael, she did not want to lose everything that she had worked so hard to protect, so hard to fight for. And so for her, if it meant staying in the canvas and leaving her family to suffer on the outside, she would do whatever it takes to protect her found family on the inside. And that to her was her path forward. And for Painted Verso, a mere fragment of the soul of the real Verso, to take the determination to get Mael out of the canvas, out of love for his sister, despite the fact that he is just a fabrication, truly speaks to his character. And yes, he ended up sacrificing the entire world of the canvas, the friends that he had made along the way. He knew that what he was doing was wrong. He was ultimately doing it for the right reason, but nevertheless, it was still wrong. Just as Mael was wrong for what she was doing, even though she was doing it for the right reason in her mind. Both of them were the heroes in their own minds, of their own stories. And I feel like that's what makes these endings so powerful and impactful. And when people chose the endings that they chose, it's because the characters and their paths resonated with them. And maybe struggles that you've gone through in life mirrored the struggles of Mael and Verso. And so you felt a kinship, and you felt like this is something that you would do if you were in their shoes. I love that the developer said that there is no right choice and that there is no definitive ending, because it truly leaves it up to the interpretation of the player. And I feel like that's what makes it an all the more personal experience. Overall, this game is nothing but incredible, and you really do have to experience it for yourself to truly feel what all of us have felt, and for y'all to realize why this game was voted Game of the Year at the Game Awards. But yes, I just wanted to round out 2025 with this video. I was actually intending on doing this for 2026, but at the same time, I was like, you know what? No. I should close out this year with this video because I really wanted to talk about the endings of Expedition 33 and the impact that they had on me. And so I feel like this was a great way to close out a really good 2025. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I truly appreciate you watching my videos. It means a lot. This is actually my 4th attempt at a YouTube channel. I've had 3 others prior to this one, but they never really amounted to anything. I'm still very happy that I attempted my previous tries, because each of those attempts helped me to learn so that I could be able to evolve into my final form, so to speak. I've enjoyed each attempt, but honestly, this 4th go-around is easily the attempt that I have enjoyed the most, and I feel like this is the one that, no matter if this channel, blows up or if it just remains a small little niche channel in a tiny little corner of the internet, fine by me, because I'm doing these videos for the love of it, for the love of the game, because I enjoy speaking my thoughts about pop culture, video games, anime, and movies and whatnot. And if I'm able to occupy a little space of YouTube and be able to share this with the select few that watch me, that makes me happy. And despite the support of my friends, family, and girlfriend, encouraging me to pursue making a YouTube channel, I was still hesitant. I was still unsure of myself. But then when I had a conversation with my girlfriend, she really helped give me that final push to embark on this journey and to make this channel a reality. And for that, I am so grateful to her. I'm so grateful to my family and friends. Thank you all so much for being such an incredible support system. And to all the people that have subscribed, thank you so much for being a part of my journey. Thank you all very much for giving me the opportunity to be able to entertain you. I've been at this latest attempt since July of this year, and honestly, it has been an absolute blast, and I cannot wait to see what 2026 will have in store. Anywho, sound off in the comments on what ending you chose for Expedition 33, how those endings impacted you, and what the game meant to you as a whole. And if you like this video, please make sure to subscribe. But anyways, until next year, this has been GamingOtakuGeek, signing out.